Today we will be playing the bridge guard scenario. After Captain Chiamaka cleared the village of necromancers, he went on to go north to find Fort Valiant and see who the occupants are there. He does come across a bridge where on the other side of it he finds a small gnoll encampment where there is a clue and some treasure, of course, some gnolls. As well, a gnoll ogre appears on the bridge along with a gnoll sergeant, and it seems like this place is heavily guarded. After surveying the area, Captain Chiamaka uses his navigation skills to try and move his guys up a little bit further into the map to give them a bit of advantage, but with a roll of 1, goes nowhere. He then looks to stealth. If successful, the players may move one gnoll fighter up to 6 inches in any direction. The Rangers have the elements of surprise in this scenario as well. Whenever they make an attack against a gnoll, they receive a +4 bonus to their roll. This goes until the alarm is raised by the gnolls, and which can be done if a gnoll takes any damage or is in line of sight. Captain Chiamaka and his crew try for their stealth roll after surveying the grounds again, but also fail this. Not off to the best start for Captain Chiamaka, so they now plan an ambush. Captain Chiamaka starts the turn by moving up to a boulder out of line of sight of the gnolls. He then calls up his 2 man-at-arms, Ahmed and Torn, to join him in preparing for an ambush. Meanwhile, the gnolls, seeing no threats over the horizon, walk around aimlessly near the river. The gnoll sergeant atop the bridge waves his axe hand at the gnolls before him, and they move about trying to look busy. Meanwhile, Captain Chiamaka and the rest of his crew prepare the ambush, with Axel, the farmer, and Bren hiding out in the cave. Meanwhile, the archers, Ulrich and Pharaoh, set up places either amongst Captain Chiamaka or in the cave as well. All then wait for their prey to come to them. For the event table, a red 6 is pulled, meaning a large vulture appears on the table. We do want to take out this vulture for whatever reason, but it is an elusive target that flies, meaning only archer fire can take this vulture down. Captain Chiamaka makes a stealth roll, and with his stealth skill of 2 + 10, he passes, and he uses this to move one of the gnoll archers back just a bit for their own sake, keeping the archer out of line of sight. Meanwhile, Ulrich the archer turns around and notices a large vulture flying in their rear. He immediately takes aim at it, just feeling like he wants to take it out for some reason. He rolls, but with a 4, completely misses the vulture. Captain Chiamaka hears this, turns around, and also decides to go for it. But with an 8, will do nothing against the vulture. The vulture, meanwhile, cackles at them as it flies high above them, out of danger. Wolves wander about, not expecting anything. Even with all their movements, the gnolls still have no idea Captain Chiamaka and his companions are amongst them. Pharaoh, unnerved by the sounds of the gnolls, makes his way out of the cave and atop it, where he tries to distract himself by shooting that damn vulture. taking aim. He sees silently in the distance the gnoll ogre and immediately becomes transfixed on it. He moves his arrow towards it and lets loose. With his +2 shoot, he gets a solid roll of 21. The ogre rolls but only gains a 13, and despite its solid stats, is seriously harmed, reducing its health to just 1. The gnolls howl in alarm at the sudden attack, and Captain Chiamaka's plans are ruined for his ambush, especially when Axel, taking advantage of the sudden shock, runs out on his own to again find his own glory. This time, he eyes a gnoll on the western side, one armed with bow and arrow, when he hopes to kill by himself for next turn. The companions listen to the gnoll cries in the distance, realizing now that the real fight has come. Captain Chiamaka starts a turn by rushing out of his hiding place and takes aim at the gnoll ogre, hoping to take it out with just its 1 health point left. Just to add to his shooting ability, he takes his +2 shoot and adds the +5 shoot for his steady aim ability. With this, he fires his bolt with confidence. With an 11, it becomes an 18. The gnoll ogre, meanwhile, dodges the attack with his own roll of 18. Ulrich scrambles atop the boulder and takes aim at the closest gnoll archer. He fires, but with a roll of 8, does nothing. Ahmed rushes out as well and traps the gnoll archer in close combat, hoping to take him out in the next turn. The creature phase set, the gnoll ogre sets its sight on Captain Chiamaka and uses its full moon to get close to him, hoping to take him out in the next turn. Captain Chiamaka can only stare up at the giant beast approaching him. Meanwhile, the gnoll archer, stuck in Ahmed's grip, fights to break free, and with an 18, beats Ahmed's 10. This pushes back Ahmed and reduces his health to 6. All is not well for Ahmed, as the archer in the distance takes aim at him as well and fires, but with a roll of 2 will do nothing. The gnoll to the west takes aim at Axel the farmer, but also misses, leaving Axel free to attack him in the next round. A gnoll fighter, meanwhile, makes its way over to the archer to lend a hand against Axel. The remaining gnoll archer rushes forward and takes aim at Pharaoh the archer atop the boulder. He shoots, but with a roll of 1, does nothing. For the rest of the gnolls, hearing the call of the gnoll sergeant, rushes forward in various parts, hoping to take out Captain Chiamaka and his companions. Meanwhile, the vulture continues flying forth, paying no heed to the violence below. To the west, Axel goes for his own personal glory again and charges forth against the gnoll fighter before him. He swings his scythe, but with a roll of only 6 will do very little. The gnoll fighter, in turn, only rolls a 9 and also does nothing. The two stay locked in combat. Back to the east, Torn the man-at-arms sees the gnoll ogre with only 1 hit point left and charges forth, hoping to take it out. And with a roll of 13 plus his 3 fight, rolls a solid 16 against the gnoll ogre's 9, killing the gnoll ogre. Yet just in victory, he sees all the gnolls rushing forward. Bren, seeing this, rushes out and joins Torn and braces for the gnoll onslaught. Pharaoh, despite all the gnolls surrounding him and his companions, takes aim at the vulture one last time, but rolling only 11 will do nothing. Feeling shame from this, he rushes down from his perch atop the boulder, hoping to help others in close combat. For the event table, a red ace is pulled, meaning a soldier shows up on the small side of the table. This is Oscar, another man-at-arms, and he comes across the gnoll encampment, seeing both the clue and treasure there. Hearing the sounds of violence everywhere, Captain Chiamaka takes immediate action. He takes his crossbow and holds it like a club as he charges forth towards the gnoll fighter currently holding up Bren. He swings his crossbow and rolls a natural 20. The gnoll in turn has little against it, rolling only a 4. It crumples to the floor. Captain Chiamaka tells the gnoll sergeant, "You're next." Torn decides to rush forward to help Ahmed take on the gnoll archer and swings wildly with his sword. With his +3 fight, he rolls a 14, making a 17, easily being the gnoll's 1. The gnoll dies at his feet. Amongst all the battle and carnage, the vulture continues to fly across the board, completely unhindered by the violence below. The gnoll sergeant, unfazed by Captain Chiamaka's taunting, charges forward towards Bren, slashing wildly with his axe hand. With his +3 fight, he rolls a 12, making it a 15 against Bren's 5. He pushes back Bren, dealing 5 damage. Meanwhile, the gnoll just behind him launches an attack against Captain Chiamaka, firing an arrow, and rolls a 12. Captain Chiamaka tries to dodge this, and with a 15, does so. The archer then charges forth, locking Captain Chiamaka in place. The gnoll closest to the bridge sees the action ahead and also gets into close contact with Captain Chiamaka, locking him there as well. To the west, the gnoll fighter, locked with Axel the farmer, thrusts with his spear and rolls a solid 19. Axel desperately tries to block this with his scythe, but fails to do so, and is immediately knocked out. The gnoll, in its victory, laughs as it charges forth, closing the distance with Pharaoh the archer. The gnoll archer nearby runs around the boulder and takes aim at Pharaoh as well and launches an arrow. But with a roll of 2, does nothing. To the north, the gnoll, still on the other side of the bridge, sees Oscar suddenly appear in the encampment and charges. With a roll of only 2, however, fails to do anything. Oscar, however, rolls a solid 14 +3 fight and damages the gnoll, reducing the gnoll to just 4 health and pushing it back. Meanwhile, the gnoll archer to the north, just by that attack, takes aim at Torn, the man-at-arms, just before Ahmed. He fires a solid 18. Torn tries desperately for a defense, but rolls only a 3, and his health is reduced to just 4. The gnoll archer then moves in closer to take aim at others. Ulrich, atop the boulder, looks down at the carnage and decides to take aim at the gnoll sergeant. Notching his arrow, he lets loose, but rolling only a 9 will do nothing against the gnoll sergeant. Frustrated by his shooting, he runs forward, hoping to close the distance next turn with the gnoll sergeant. Meanwhile, Ahmed, seeing his brethren get hurt, rushes the gnoll sergeant and thrusts with his spear. He rolls a solid 16, and with his fight makes it a 19. The gnoll sergeant rolls only a 7, and is heavily wounded, reducing its health to just 4 and being pushed back. Bren, seeing this, rushes forward too and attacks the gnoll fighter just by Captain Chiamaka, but rolls only a 7. The gnoll fighter, though, only rolls a 4 and is pushed back by Bren. Pharaoh, meanwhile, takes aim at the gnoll fighter just before him and lets loose an arrow and rolls a natural 20. Just in victory, though, the gnoll fighter also rolls a natural 20 and dodges the lethal attack. Seeing now how he is outnumbered by both the archer and the fighter, Pharaoh runs through the cave and makes it to the other side, hoping to help his companions over here. Back to Oscar, unworried by the wounded gnoll, decides to secure the clue instead and rushes over to it. He rolls a 17 for the clue, which equates to a book of poems, something we'll find out more in a later scenario. Across the battlefield, violence has broken out with many wounded, but most of all, we already have 4 participants out of action, including Axel the farmer and the gnoll ogre. Otherwise, fighting continues all over, with people supporting each other here and there and others being locked in combat. Archers, mostly gnolls, are taking aim, while human archers are closing in for close combat. We also have the clue secure and the vulture completely unharmed so far. On top of this, due to the clue, we have gathered a book of poems done by Oscar. What will happen next, we will find out soon in the next part. Thanks again for tuning in. Part 2 will be out soon, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'd also just like to thank you for watching. Please like and maybe subscribe. It's definitely the encouragement I need to keep this going. And again, stay tuned.